I got a question here from Gemini.
Okay.
Hey guys, I've been listening to your podcast weekly for the last year and a half and have listened to every episode you guys have made, some more than once. Love you
That's
guys.
awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
so
let's
much.
let's go
That's
Gemini.
amazing.
I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on cold plunges. I keep seeing videos of Gary Brecka. I don't know who that is.
Oh, I know who the fuck that is. I just got someone sent me one of his clips today. He literally said, let me see if I can find this clip.
Hang on,
Keep
yeah,
reading. Keep
it's
reading.
gonna be aligned with the question. I keep seeing videos of Gary Brecka talk about how, quote, no amount of cardio, strength training,
Yes.
hit, etc. compares to getting in a cold tub. And I can't help but believe that he's putting out a false narrative, and the way these videos are clipped, almost encouraging people to stop trying to work out and only sit in ice baths to lose weight. I just wanted to know what your thoughts are on the subject. Thanks.
Dude, it's so crazy. Someone literally just sent this clip to me today at 8:19 a.m. This is what he says. I'm going to try and play this directly into the microphone so people can hear this outrageous lunacy. All right?
There is nothing on the surface of the earth that will remove calories from your body or burn fat at the rate that getting in cold water will. If you actually read the story about
Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that will remove calories or body fat more than getting in a cold plunge. Absolute, I'm trying to think of a politically correct word, idiocy. Just like to put it lightly. That's Gemini. Mike, you take it. You start. Let me cool off.
Yeah, Jordan, you cool off. I like the idea of a cold plunge. And I like the idea of a cold plunge because there is solid evidence around the increases in dopamine and norepinephrine during and for a sustained period post cold plunge. Cold plunge has been used in many cases in addiction recovery for cocaine addicts specifically, and has been effective for many years for those individuals. So, and I also have a theory that addiction isn't binary, that it's on a spectrum, and that if we look at food and if we look at social media and if we look at how we all live our lives, and I've talked about the pleasure pain seesaw here from Anna Lemke's Dopamine Nation, we would all benefit from implementing some of those ideas from that book into our lives. One of them being leaning into pain, and a cold plunge being a form of pain where if you lean into it, your body's going to seesaw back into pleasure. I like the idea of from like a David Goggins, from a, do hard stuff, do something you don't want to do, mental placebo, getting cold water because it's hard. I like doing other things because it's hard that might be more beneficial, maybe more than cold plunging, but I don't hate it for that reason, especially if you're doing it for your own benefit and you're not doing it to post on social media and like whatever, clout chase based on that. For the purposes of fat loss, I have never seen any good evidence showing that getting in cold water is going to do anything more than burn an immaterial slight uptick or have an immaterial slight increase in calorie expenditure compared to not going in cold water. So yeah, for body composition, for its direct effects on fat loss, I would not recommend getting in cold water. And the fact that this guy says that is not even saying like it's slightly beneficial or, it's probably worth doing. He's saying that it's the most beneficial thing you can do to lose body fat, like compared to reducing your calorie intake, is a completely ridiculous and misleading and like, I don't know, clickbaity statement.
And can we just clarify something? Because I think a lot of people, even when you said like I think I forget the exact verbiage, but you said to the effect of like there an immaterial amount of fat burn, right? and maybe like
Yep.
more caloric expenditure.
Yep.
Can we just clarify what this means? It does not mean that if you sit in a cold bath and then you eat over your caloric allotment, that you'll have burned fat that day. It's like, no, that means you'll have gained fat that day because you ate too many calories.
Correct.
So that's number one. Regardless of what of your cold plunging habits, if you're eating too many calories, you're not going to lose body fat.
Of course.
The second thing is this. What do you think would burn more calories? Sitting in a cold plunge for 10 minutes or going on a 10-minute walk?
Going on a 10-minute walk.
Period.
Yeah.
So like for this guy to say there is nothing that would remove calories, which is another way of saying like burn calories faster or better. It's like, well, that's wrong. The same amount of time that you spend in that fucking cold water, walking burns more calories. That like,
Yep.
period. That
Yep.
is just so remarkably stupid and manipulative, like to think of how he's phrasing it. It's actually from a metabolic perspective, walking is better.
Correct.
And it's not to say there aren't benefits to cold. Everything you said is fact based on current knowledge and evidence of cold plunging. Everything you said is fact. This is the perfect example of how someone can take one single thing, like a very reductionist view of something, and extrapolate it and manipulate it to make it look more effective than it really is, and completely disregard other things that are simpler, relatively easy, more accessible, more comfortable, just for the sake of clickbaits and views. And listen, and I don't, let me Google this guy real quick. Gary Brecka is his name? Gary Brecka.
What's funny is that clip you just played, I saw it last night on TikTok. So it's a good thing I'm back consuming on the TikTok. And in the rest of the clip, what he says, his evidence for why that's true, is an anecdotal N=1 uncontrolled story about Michael Phelps' Olympic training. And he was essentially saying that Phelps, when he was in, I don't remember if it was Tokyo or he was in another country for the Olympics many years back, and the water in the pool where he was training for the Olympics was 4 degrees colder, and the rest of his training regimen was exactly the same, which doesn't seem right, but whatever. We'll pretend that's correct.
He used literally the exact same training regimen. Okay.
and that he had to increase his calories to 10,000 calories a day because of the cold water. But he also didn't state what his calories were previously. Like that was his evidence, at least in the clip that I saw.
Yeah. So Gemini, don't. Yeah. I can't even formulate a proper sentence. No.
So the moral of the story is, if your goal is to lose body fat, stopping your training regimen and your cardio regimen and your calorie deficit and you're prioritizing sleep and replacing it with more time in cold water is not a good idea and is not recommended by the hosts of the How to Become a Personal Trainer podcast.